Hello, how's everybody doing? This is Dance Without Music, fourth year. Um, Maybe getting into the fifth year, I don't know, but it's the fourth year still, I'm almost positive. Um, what I'm doing now is, the reason for this one is because sometimes what happens is I'm not sure if I'm going to do another one like right back to back, but a lot of times, a lot of things process when I do a YouTube and other information comes up, I understand a little bit more about which direction I should go into. So that's what this YouTube is about. It refines what we did the last YouTube. And this time I actually wrote things down. So it's getting really more structured, I guess, um, for now. Okay, like this one is going to be the difference between because it is very, very structural and technical. This one, time, space, and movement. We're going to have to, although there are certain things, if you've been following Dance Without Music, there's a lot of things that are one, but it actually is three. It's three things that come together to make one. Okay, like I'm not going to say the examples, but this is one of the examples. We have time, space, and movement. Okay, because we never think about pulling them apart. We just kind of, make it by not even thinking about it. However, we think of them in a bigger scale. Like, for instance, time, we think of it as, like weeks. We have hours, minutes, seconds, and then we have, of course, we have weeks, months, and years. Okay, and it goes on. Okay, but we really never think about the difference. And then we have space. We think about it in bigger formats, like where we live, a house, a room, a closet, things like that. Where the bed is, where we want the bed to be, where we want the lamp to be, and that's space. And then we think about movements, like when we have a dance. We just pretty much look at what somebody, I mean, we practice and everything, but for the most part, in general, we look at what someone's doing, like the twist. You just really look at it and then just do it. Movement, what else do we have in movement? When a car moves, I mean, we don't think about those things and how they interact with each other in a oneness. Okay, so that's what we're going to go over today. So we have space and location. Um, Pretty much, I have to show you certain things. Okay, the space that we created, the function creates. We have the space. Okay. Um, then we have the location. Okay, so we have space, and the thing about it is that we never think about that. We never break down the location. Like, for instance, if somebody calls you and they say, "Where are you?" And you go, "I'm at home. I'm in my room at home," and that's good enough for them. However, with the function, it goes deeper than that because as I told you, I utilize algebra, to explain things because it goes right along with it. We have two squared, um, and we have three squared. Okay, and with those, if you listen to the last few YouTubes, we noticed that we made locations. Okay, the function creates the locations, and as far as function is concerned, everything that I'm speaking this is the fourth year. They're in the former videos, the previous videos. Okay, if you want to understand more about it. So the function creates location. And there's something that I did in the last video when I said about moving, the function can move. the locations in the radical 9, okay? It can move them, and it gives a time, like for instance, when I was doing this, and it gives a representation of time, okay? Because you didn't really see how I was moving the radical 9, okay? So we have, but we're okay. So what I was saying is that when I finished the video, I processed it a little bit more, and there's something else that you can do. Now I'm speaking about it, what I'm going to show you. There's something else that you can do, is that you can stay in the same location, like the locations of, we did it in the previous ones, you have to understand. Like for instance, when I marked 5, 6, and 7, okay, I could stay at 5, 6, and 7 in the radical 9, okay, and I could continue to move without moving the location. Before I was moving, okay, like I was like, I can do it now, okay, so I'm at 1, 2, 3. These are locations, it's not numbers. I explained so many things. So 1, 2, 3, and then I can go to 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9. I'm moving the locations. In the function, I'm moving the locations. However, I can actually stay at 1, 2, and 3. Like 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then 1, 2, and 3. And then 1, 2, and 3. And it still is time. It still gives the effect of time. Now we're going to break it down more, and everything I'm telling you right now I'm going to show you. Okay, so I put down space has locations. So we just, radical 9 has marks, okay? It has 9, can I say 9 marks? We numbered the locations in radical 9, okay, because numbers can mean anything, but in this instance I'm saying that there's the space that we created in the function is termed radical 9, which means it has boundaries, and we divided it into marks. And it doesn't have to be squares, but I use squares and stuff like that like I said, I use algebra for communication. So I divided it into 1, 2, 3. Actually, I divided it into one. Oh, I have to say this because we're going to use numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So first we have space, and then I divided it into, I'm not going to say I divided it into 9 because you can't say that, because it's one space, okay? So I have to say radical 9, which is one, it's a set, okay? It's not a subset, it's a set, okay? A set of marks in a space, okay? I didn't divide the space. I can't divide the space because, I'm not going to go over there. I can't divide the space because I'm using a certain amount of space. So there's no one piece of space. There's no two piece of space, but it's only in one package, which I call radical 9, so that you can understand for communication. But later on, you'll see that that's going to vanish because it doesn't really deal with numbers. I'm telling you numbers in algebra so that you can understand, I can communicate it. But then as it progresses, you'll see it's much more beautiful than numbers. Okay, so now we have time, measurements. So now we have space has location. I told you that. The location would be location 1, location 2, location 3, location 4, location 5, location 6, location 7, location 8, location 9. But I could also say location here, 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 location here. Okay, it's the same thing. Okay, so that's location. So now you have space, which is really big, and I took a chunk of space. Okay, I have to say the function takes a chunk of space. Okay, so because the location can take that space anywhere. That's the most beautiful thing about it. The location can change from radical 9 to radical 4, and it's totally different. So you can understand how it manipulates space, and you take it wherever you want to go. Okay, so now you have time measures movement. Okay, so now we have time measured movement. But let's talk about movement, okay? Movement without, see how all these things link together, because without location, there's no movement, because in former videos I've showed you that when we talked about the quadrants, okay, and we talked about the control, and we talked about the movement. Without space, we can't make movements. Okay, I mean the movements that we're talking about now, we can't make those movements without space. So we have space, then we have location, and now because we have space and location, we can utilize space and location by making movements. Okay, before we could make movements, but we don't know where we are. We don't know where we are because we don't even worry about it. But we worry about it in bigger terms, like for instance with our car, or when we're cooking. Okay, we don't really worry about it, but it's just there. But now we're dealing with something that's even more refined. Okay, so we have time, so we have to understand it more, because the closer it goes in, the more we have to understand it if we're going to manipulate it and we're going to use it. So we have to understand the difference between, or how time and movement relates. So you can go from one mark to the other mark. I can go from 1 to 2, to mark 1 to mark 2. That's a movement. Now, time is a product of movement. From here to here, if I kept going like this, that would be a time. Okay, I'm making a movement, but okay, if I just go, okay, so if I go like that, just like 1, 2, and 3, I'm making movements, okay, but if I want to divide those movements, I could divide it into time, which is, I say 1, 2, okay, so I can go like, okay, let me see, yeah, let me go like this, okay, so I made 2 movements, so I can also say that it's 2 times, okay, but I could go like this, okay, and I can divide the movement into time. So if you can understand that now. So it's all one movement. I mean, even if I go like this, I'm moving, but it's a movement. It's movements, okay? But those movements are divided into time. So we have to understand that. So time is a product of movement. Don't try and relate it to anything else, because a lot of things that we've already done, a lot of things like, for instance, the clock and all this, if you try and relate it, there's things that we don't have to think about as human beings that we've never thought about, because we can live without thinking about them. but now we're going closer into reality of things around us to do Dance Without Music. So now we have to realize that we have time and we have movement. Okay, so if I say move from 1 to 3, you go like this. Okay, so that's a movement. So but I could tell you to do it 3 times, and then you would go 1, 2, 3. So you did it 3 times, movement 3 times. So you understand that. So a partial of movement is time. And that's for Dance Without Music. You don't have to relate it to anything else. Dance Without Music, 4th year. So now we did it. So now let's see if I can come up with I already did the kind of exercises or the dance. But let's see if I can do that and finish this lesson. Okay. Close this door. Okay, so first I'm going to explain to you when we did the radical 4. Okay. So okay, first I'm going to do 1. Okay, I'm going to do the radical 4, or let's make it. Okay, I can do the radical 4. Okay, that's the radical 4. Okay, like I said, and I can go back. I'm just doing radical 4. Okay, the marks in radical 4 made possible by the function that gives us the marks. Okay, and I can't go out this. If I'm in the function, I can't. It won't let me go out. You know, I could do whatever I want, but it won't let me go out. So I'll play with this radical 4. But I can make, and I have the freedom to do anything in the radical 4, but the only thing that you don't want to do, or else you'll mess up a lot, it'd be kind of sloppy, is you don't think about you don't see the marks. You can see the marks when you relate to the function. When you're in the function, you can see the marks. Okay? If you want to, okay, so that's as far as I want to go. So I have to keep the marks. Okay, so I can pretty much do anything. I can move the radical 4. That's another thing you could do. You can move the radical 4. Like I moved the radical 4. But see if you could tell when okay, let's not go there because that's going into something else. So I'm not going to talk too much about moving the radical 4. So everything that you do, a fine line will bring up something else, because in the function it does so many things. So that's why we pretty much we have to keep on this one. You have to keep you have to really focus on what's being said at hand, because you remember when I did this, okay, and then I can move the space, okay, so like right now remember radical 4 has mark 1, mark 2, mark 3, mark 4, and I could go 1, and I'm showing you something else that we just talked about. 1, 2, okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. But then the function will allow me to move to 3. I just moved to 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. Now that's time, okay? Now I'm making movements and I'm creating time, okay? So if you understand, because of the definitions that I explained to you, okay? So I'm at 3, 4, 3, 4. Now I'm at 1, 2, 1, 2. But there's a difference, because at first I was 1, 2, 1, 2. With the 1, 2, I can't go back because I'm in radical 4. So 1, 2, 1, 2. I could do that, okay? And I could keep going like that. But I could also go like this, because I'm in 1, 2. So I can go 3. How would I do it? 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, 4, 1, 4. Okay, so I could do that. But but if I do, but if I'm making time in 3, 4, 3, 4, I can't go forward. Okay, so 3, 4, 3, 4, but I can go to 1, 4, 3, 4, 3, 2. Okay, so I hope you understand that. That's one of the points I wanted to make. Very important point. So we did that. So I explained that. So now I'm going to go to radical 3. Okay. In radical 9, and it's 1, 2, 3. So this is quadrants. Okay. Quadrants. Like I said, this thing switches around, but this is the right or the natural quadrant, the one closest to the heart. It has nothing to do with right and left. When I say right, I mean correct. Either correct quadrant, and we already know that. Correct quadrant, right quadrant, or natural quadrant, right there. Okay? And then we have the other quadrant. It's just called the other quadrant. Okay? And then we have the between quadrant. Okay? Which in Radical 25 is utilized a lot between quadrant, okay? But we already talked about that. And we'll get that and refine that, but it's not refined yet. Okay, so now we have Radical 3, and we're 1, 2, Radical 9, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3. These are marks. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But it can also be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just to continually pound into you that we're not really using numbers, we're just using the numbers just for location 1. Or else I could just do this. If you pay attention and really look very well, focus. This location, 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 much better. And that's the way you have to think and dance without music, because you have to say, he's communicating, but don't put your communication, don't glue it to the meaning, okay? Because this is the meaning. Okay, it doesn't have any, I can add sound to it. But in this point, it doesn't have any sound or anything. So I communicated that to you by using the term, and that's a pun, the term Radical 9, okay? Okay, so now I'm going to do something, and this is going to be, I usually end it when I do something for the short, if it's going to turn out good. So I'm going to try this. I don't know if it's going to really work out well. I think I'm going to do the long one. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do this one. Okay, so that's it.